What is going on, good people? DJ, CaseE, and Adam back to talk a little Clash of Champions. Real quick, on a shout out to all of our loyal followers on Facebook, of course, and on YouTube, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor as well. Wherever you may be listening / watching this show, I think I'm gonna post this one on Anchor as well. I never know if I'm gonna post it until like we actually do it, just because we haven't had some wrestling content on Anchor or Spotify or any of those audio platforms in a while. So I want to get that out for some of our loyal people who've been like, "Where's the wrestling content? Aren't you guys the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast?" Like, I'm trying to help everybody out. Okay, I'm trying to get everybody, because they're like, all this football stuff. I don't care about football. I want wrestling. So we got y'all. We got some wrestling coming up very soon. But we're gonna talk about Clash of Champions. Just have a little quick discussion. Nothing too terribly in depth. I want to go match by match in a way, but at the same time, I kind of just want to talk about how I felt about some different character developments, some different how feuds have been going, weird things that kind of weren't on this show that maybe should have been on this show, like the U.S. title, and different stuff like that. Like just weird things on this show that maybe didn't happen that should have happened, and some things that I've actually liked. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. When I look at the card again and kind of revisit it, it was cool to see Zelita Vega get a good spot and actually get a title match, and I think they're breaking her away from Andrade and all of that craziness. So that's kind of good, I think. I'm excited to see her do some things on her own, possibly. I do enjoy her as a wrestler. I enjoy her as a manager too. I think she can pull off both of them, but for some reason WWE's really weird about, whoa, we can't have you as both. No, why would we do that? And real quick, shout out to Brandon Burnett. Yeah, we'll talk about a lot of the things that you're saying. He said that there was a great opening match. I actually can bring it in the thing. I don't know why I just do that. As you can see below, I just do that. I'm not used to this fancy nanciness, okay? But nonetheless, for the people listening, great opening match, great main event, and kind of a so-so middle of the show. And then he also said the ladder match was amazing, which was the opening match. I'm not sure if it was, unless he was talking about the pre-show match. Possibility, not sure. We don't talk about the pre-show matches too often here, but it is weird that they did have the pre-show matches, the pre-show match, like not on the card. They purposefully shorten the show, but you have extra time to put that match on the card. Why don't you just do, like, I don't know, do something weird, like a number one contenders match. I know it's not technically a championship match in this Clash of Champions, but still, like, do like a number one contenders match, because it still kind of goes with the championship theme. I feel like that would be better than, I think, having a title match that I think deserves to get a spot on the show. But nonetheless, overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. Looking into it, actually, the United States Championship was on this. I must have missed that match, because I started watching it, and then I think I started watching the football game, and then I went back to the to the show. So I think I kind of pinged back and forth, but nonetheless, glad that all the titles were showcased. At least I didn't think they were, but you guys got any overall thoughts, real quick, on the show, and how you're feeling about kind of the direction of WWE? I guess I'll start with Case.
Like I said before, I didn't get to watch the whole show. My network was being weird today for whatever reason. But I saw a lot of like the highlights. I know DJ and I always complain about social media ruining everything for us, but in this case, it actually benefited me. Because I saw a lot of the clips and stuff and outcomes and things like that. From what I saw, there was some interesting things that happened. Again, this is Clash of Champions, which isn't the Clash of Champions of old. This is the WWE version, which is basically just a filler pay-per-view. Which I really wish they would get rid of. I don't like. I feel like every pay-per-view should be important and should feel big. And I almost feel like they should eliminate a bunch of them, have like maybe 5 or 6 pay-per-views a year, not, a pay-per-view for every single month, because it just, and we've talked about it a lot, but, in the past, it gets oversaturated. Half these pay-per-views, you don't remember what happened, the pay-per-view 2 months ago, let alone what happened, this past Sunday. And it felt like a lot of pay-per-views used to really matter, and now they just like a lot of these matches. I'm not gonna care about what happened 2 weeks from now. But again, there was some cool stuff that I had seen that came out of the show, so it is what it is.
All right, Adam.
So I'm kind of going to go the JR route here. Like, as Casey said, we all know what these, Payback, Backlash, those type of pay-per-views, we know what they are. They're fillers. They're extensions of Raw and SmackDown. There's no specialness to it. I mean, there have been good shows that have spawned from that. Like, a pay-per-view will come out of nowhere and actually be pretty good. I forget what again, there's so many we lose track. There was one a couple of months ago, and actually I think it might have been Extreme Rules that I actually thought was pretty solid from start to finish. Even though again it's a gimmicky pay-per-view, there's no specialness to it, whatever though. But per the storylines, match quality, all that stuff, it was actually pretty good. But in this instance, yeah, like you always look at the effort brought out by the talent, whatever though, and everybody busted their ass. No one phoned it in or anything like that. So I appreciate that aspect, but like nothing that was really gonna drive anything home or get people talking, with maybe the exception of the main event. Very good storytelling. I enjoyed that immensely, even though that was not a terrible, but a depressing way to end a pay-per-view. But it really, really set the tone for the progression of Roman as a heel, where again, no shield jacket, no nothing. You just see that jacked up body of his now, whatever though. And I like the little element of the tribal king and whatnot. And now with the advent of Paul Heyman, which I had been calling for years now. I'm like, take the talent in the in-ring talent of Roman, give him a mouthpiece, because Roman's okay, but he wasn't really standing on his own as a promo. Especially, like, I don't know if you remember back in the day, not back in the day, but a couple years ago when he was trying to go toe to toe with Cena. Not the best. Fumbled into the promo, and the crowd ate him alive. I still think he's really good. So I think this is the perfect spot for him. I really, really, really enjoyed that ladder match. That was crazy, even in the Thunderdome setting, whatever. But Sammy getting a twisted side to him a little bit, and whatever though, and even though this is kind of a play off of the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon thing, like, he never lost the title, which is true. And then there was the kind of the back and forth with Jeff and AJ having some great matches. This was the end all, undisputed, no more questions being asked. He is the undisputed Intercontinental Champion. And I popped when he took the handcuffs and looped it into Jeff Hardy's ears. Jeff, if you're listening to this right now, stop with the earrings. It is going to be used against you in every match. Take them out. But anyway,
there's an obsession, Adam. There's an obsession with that. I texted Casey, and he hadn't saw the show, but I texted him, and I was like, there's an obsession with this man's earlobes. I tell you. Because, like, and every time they do it, I'm just like, oh, God, please don't move too sudden. Please
right.
don't move
I mean,
too
at this point, I wish he just would go back to Will o' the Wisp and just go, just to mess with people. But, that I would say that was, with maybe the exception of Randy and Drew, I would say the ladder match was the second best match. I think Randy and Drew was the best, but by far. But I really like what you said about Zelina. She is an absolute gem, and I like how they're using her now a little bit more and more. They're slowly integrating her into her in-ring stuff, whatever though. But she was perfect with Andrade. She obviously, knows how to work, so she took the managerial part very well. Where again, quick Hurricane Rana there, whatever though, boom, she's out the door. Then now that Andrade and Garza are kind of breaking off into their own thing, I do like the fact that they're giving her a chance, because I don't. Garza and Andrade, we don't need them to cut promos. Like their in ring stuff is doing just fine. So, but yeah, her in that role, I think she's going to get. She had a really, really good showing against Asuka, for sure. I definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, overall, solid show. Nothing to jump out of your seat about. Whatever this is the norm. This is the norm where the pay-per-view happens and we know there's one coming 3 weeks later. I wish they would slowly fade out these shows and do more specials that would garner people to get the network, because the documentary stuff and like the Steve Austin's podcast and this, that, and the other, that I like that more. The last ride with Taker, they need to do more of that, because they are just oversaturating the in-ring product and not trying to get them to. They're not gaining new viewers by having all of these wrestling shows.
And two, Adam, that's a good point. The oversaturation, that issue, and Casey and I talked about this before. The biggest issue is when they talked about, with the brand split. With the brand split, they're not using the brand split properly, right? Like, you have all these pay-per-views, but everybody's on every single pay-per-view. Why? I'll never understand it. And Casey, I know you had a point.
Well, 2 points actually. One with the Jeff Hardy thing. I actually kind of like that they're using his earlobes as in matches and storylines, because it's becoming so so common that people have gauges, body modifications. It's almost like, why wouldn't you, as a visual aesthetic in a match, why wouldn't you use that? Why wouldn't you, so I kind of like it in that aspect, that they're, it's there, obviously, why wouldn't you use it? It's like if somebody, Kayfabe has an injured arm or something, you're going to go after it. Like, why wouldn't you? Obviously. So I kind of like that. Another thing I wanted to bring up, since we were talking about pay-per-views in general, and not to get too much on this, I just kind of want to get Adam's opinion, because we've talked about this a lot. The difference between the main roster pay-per-views and the NXT takeover pay-per-views, because DJ and I, pretty much for every single takeover pay-per-view, we have thought has been at least solid from top to bottom. Whereas, the main roster is kind of hit or miss, but every takeover is at least solid. It might not be phenomenal, but it's at least solid. And we've talked about, why we think that is. The guys are more hungry, whatever, this, that, the other. But I kind of want to get your thoughts on, what you think, it is, because they do consistently seem more solid than the main roster, which shouldn't be that way. You would think that the main roster would consistently be the better show, and like the developmental would be the hit or miss show, and it's the opposite.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, everything you just said is absolutely true. I mean, like, I will maintain this until something changes my mind. NXT takeovers are the best wrestling shows on the planet, bar none. And I mean, people may disagree with that, and that's fine. But just my thing is, you it is a formula that has worked ever since that it was more than just a reality TV show when it actually became a full-fledged wrestling show. And it wasn't just, the more upscale version of FCW. I mean, almost every match is a title match, but they actually make the titles mean something, which is 100% what you need to do. I mean, and the other thing is NXT doesn't do the hot potato. They did it a little bit with the North American title. And again, I can give that a pass, whatever though. But Cole had that long reign as NXT champ. God, who not before Breezango and before Imperium, the Fish and O'Reilly, had long sustaining reigns as champions, and that's what you need. Plus, and this is big, their shows are 2.5, maybe just a hair under 3 hours, so they leave you wanting more. The main roster pay-per-views, and again, and I expect that with Royal Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, that is their core pay-per-views. Those are events. I get it. But why do we need the pre-show for pulling one, for Backlash? Why do we need it for Great Balls of Fire? They're useless. They're useless, and not to mention, they're about half the time the stuff on the pre-show, you could have taken this garbage match on the main show and switched that out, because and there's matches that I care about that I cared about more on the pre-show that I did on the main show. And it's just god awful filler. And plus it's insulting because I know they're trying to give the sports field and all that stuff. And really the pre-show is made for Ron Killings, R-Truth. So if you have him on there, all right, cool. So this is what happened this past Sunday, whatever, when he had on all that shit. And later in the night, Drew Gulak, rolled him up to win the 24/7 title. But I don't know. And there's with NXT, going back to NXT, their takeovers are spaced out. So then you get to hone in and focus in on the television show, which is, I know they're probably listed as number 3, but to me, they're number 1 because they're in direct competition, with AEW. So they put a lot of effort and stock into making those shows good. With NXT as a whole, the show, they have stuff that's not going to make me change the channel. And I know I'm probably going to get heat from AEW fans. But with AEW, again, their main event stuff is awesome. Awesome. Guys are allowed to actually able to cut their own promos. It's not coming from somebody higher up, whatever, though, it's authentic. But there's stuff in between. I'm like, I don't know who we're pushing. Everybody's equal. I'm like you need to get guys over. So that's why they're so schizophrenic in their booking. With NXT, they're very polished, they're very professional. It's just a lot of times on the television show, it's so stale. It's they'll have a string of okay, there was some good matches, but nothing was like, damn, that was great. The last good part of that I saw was Cole versus Finn Balor for the NXT title. But again, they kicked off the show with that, but the match meant something. Again, that's my cup of tea. I like the gaga when it comes to pro wrestling, but I still like the sport aspect of it, of I'm watching two men trying to win a match for a title or just for bragging rights. So I don't know. Like I said, I've maintained that and will maintain that forever, that NXT takeover shows are the best wrestling shows on the planet.
Yeah, and I think for me, part of it is, I don't care about the flashy, over the top show. I really don't. When it's Mania, okay. When it's Royal Rumble, okay. But for the average weekly show, I don't need the over the top, visual effects and pyro and all that. That's part of why I used to love early TNA. Why I love Ring of Honor. All those shows where it's not flashy, it's not the big lights and the big screens and everything. It's a wrestling ring, it's a storyline, it's the wrestlers. That's all you need. You don't need the big elaborate lights and sets and all that for a weekly show. You really don't. And even for like the average pay-per-view, you really don't. It's too much. Sometimes it gets distracting because you're trying to watch, check out the set more than you're checking out the match in the ring. Or even for me now watching the Thunderdome, I find myself being distracted by the screens of the people rather than watching the actual match in the ring. And also you mentioned Ron Killings or R-Truth. The like, I love the goofy stuff that he's doing. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's getting paid for it. Props to the man. But the fact that he was NWA champion, why they got to do this to that man? He was literally NWA world champion.
Yeah, but that's the type of, you want to call it gaga, that I like, because he makes it work. He's not meant to be taken seriously. But you go the other route in terms of storytelling. That Roman and Jey Uso match, I cared about that story, and particularly in that, like you couldn't have paid attention to any of the shows on SmackDown or anything like that, but that package that they had before the match started, you felt that from Jey. He goes, everybody goes to you because everybody called you the big dog. You know what I got? I got, which Uso are you? And I'm like, that's perfect. Yep. I love that. You felt that. The only thing. The only wish I wish they would do, and I get it, it's the stockholders and all that stuff. You don't want someone saying the wrong thing. In that finish, where Jimmy came out hobbling around and saying, "You're like, Oos, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm going to throw in the towel." Man, I wanted Jey to have a fire in his belly about that. Like, don't you throw in that towel, Oos? Don't you do whatever that I wanted to give. It was just. I don't want to say cathartic because he just got his ass beat, but like, I wanted just a little bit more defiance in terms of not quitting, almost Austin like you are not gonna make me quit in this bout, bro.
Well, I think too, Adam. Another thing that I was thinking, because I do not like the throw in the towel finish, because right now it's overdone. It feels like they always go to that. Anytime they need a non-finish, they go to that. I would have been better off with having Jimmy just end up costing him the match or something, not in a bad way, just to kind of help him or something like that. Like, I don't like to throw in the towel finish because you just know eventually they're going to do it. It's not like they always do it the same way, and I don't like that. I mean, I think right now, I think that's one of the best things going. And you go ahead and go to your point, and I got more to say.
Well, I was just gonna add real quick that it's something that WWE does in general. Like, they find something and then they do it over and over and over and over and over again. We talked about this a couple of years ago, and it doesn't even seem like it was a couple of years ago. It seems like it was like last month. But when Cena started throwing the steel steps, and like the first time it was cool. It was like, oh, never seen him do that before. And then they kept having him do it over and over and over. And it's like, okay, stop. Like, once or twice is enough. When you're doing it every single match, and again, same with the towel throwing. Like, you can't do the same thing every single match and then expect us to care.
Well, and also in that regard too, it's nothing against Jey, but why are you giving him the quote unquote protected finish? He's a tag team guy. It's not going to kill him to lose to Roman. Like, and for what it's worth, that was to, I I kind of get why they did it. They were trying to show that, Jay's really tough. He's not going to get up, but no one in their right mind think that Jay was going to win that match. Now, that also intensified Roman's new aggressiveness and this, that, and the other. But have him do that, him not, him like maybe grab the towel and throw it back in Jimmy's face, whatever, though, and he claws and staggers up, whatever, and Roman hits one spear, boom, that's done. You still get that vibe of like, man, he fought tooth and nail to the very very end, but it wouldn't have killed him, to get his shoulders pinned to the mat. And I've only seen the towel throwing thing work one time. Brett versus Backlund. That moved the story with Brett and Owen, because he was doing the acting like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get this way, and please throw in the towel. I don't want to see Brett suffer anymore. And then pulls the rug out from underneath us and realize it was a ruse to have Brett lose the title. That worked. And in this case, again, it was a meaningless protected finish for no reason.
Well, and I think too, right now, to me, I feel like Roman is almost like the best thing going right now with this character development, because we've never seen it from Roman before. We're seeing something new from him. It's a little bit edgy. It's just more enjoyable. It's more realistic to me. Like you said, Adam, this feud was one of the most realistic feuds, I think, on the card, in terms of just like the family aspect of it. Roman is the guy, right? Like he's that dude. But then at the same time, Jay's like, I don't want to just be the tag team guy. The like you said, the which one are you? That really hit me, because I'm like, I feel that same way. I can't tell you guys apart right now. Okay, I really can't. It's so freaking hard. They look just a freaking like it's freaking crazy. But it's like, I mean, I'm loving this storyline, and I was liking the Fiend and Braun storyline too. I like the storytelling in it, and I think storytelling is like one of those huge things. But I feel like, with Roman right now, like the realism in it, I feel like this is the Roman, and I've said this, in shows before. This is the Roman that I think we've always wanted. This is what we wanted from Roman. He doesn't have to talk a lot. I mean, just a little bit of talking he does in the ring, I think, is enough. Have Paul Heyman talk for him, and then at the same time, have him say the little things he needs to say to get himself over. That's it. He doesn't. I don't think he needs to cut this whole full length 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute promo. The dude needs, a minute to 2 minutes to get his point across, and then there you go. You're good. I mean, so for me, I mean, I love this feud. I don't know where they're gonna go with it. I think it's, like you said, I think the biggest purpose of it is to, build his heel character. He's going against his family. What in the world won't he do at this point? Without making him seem, it's almost just like, I just want to destroy everyone. Not necessarily in like a dastardly way, just in a like, you're not gonna take this title from me. I gotta feed my family. It reminds me of Kevin Owens a little bit, when he was talking about his family like that. And, when he was kind of like the prize fighter, where it's like, I fight for a prize and I fight for my family, but he was a heel. So like on one hand, you're like, that's admirable of you, but at the same time, you really will do what it takes to keep that title in your possession, which is good. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving what Roman's doing right now, and I like that they're incorporating. It's Jimmy, right? I told you I don't know them apart. I told you I don't know them apart. But I like that they're incorporating, as I call them, Oos in it. I like, because it applies to both of them. I like that they're incorporating him into it, because when you got one hurt, the other one shouldn't suffer because of that. I know they're tag team guys. They're an amazing tag team to me, and I love the way their characters are. But at the same time, I mean, just the little things in this feud has been cool. Him putting on the lei at the end of the match, like, the way he looks at both of them. You're my family, but at the same time, you're not good enough to be the breadwinner. You're good enough to do what you're doing. He gives you credit, but you're not me. You're not Roman. Like, and I like that. And it was even weird with the thing with Rikishi. It felt like Rikishi was saying, you know, Roman's the guy, but then Rikishi was like, but my son's gonna win. I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you saying?
Well, and also, obviously, we don't want anyone to ever, be injured or anything like that. But I think it almost helps in a way, refreshing them a little bit because, I know for me at least, it's been a roller coaster ride for me with the Usos. Like for a while there, early in their career, it was like, man, are they ever gonna win the tag team titles? It felt like they were never gonna win the tag team titles, and then finally they did, and it feels like they've won them like 30 times since then, and it's like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, can we see something else? And also, one thing I don't like, and WWE does this with their tag teams. They don't allow them to have singles matches. It's just if you're in a tag team,
Yeah.
that's all you do. That's all you do. Like even you go to other promotions like for example Ring of Honor back when O'Reilly and Fish were there as Red Dragon. Yeah, they were obviously a tag team. They obviously had multiple tag team championship runs, but you would have singles matches with Kyle O'Reilly. You would have singles matches with Bobby Fish. With War Machine, you would have, singles matches here and there. Other promotions do this all the time. And it's like WWE never does it. And I don't understand why. Give us something refreshing. We don't need to see them. We get it. We get that they're a tag team. We don't need to see them in a tag team match every single time they're on the show.
Well, and two, Casey, what really works about this, and I know Adam has one more point, he's got to get out of here, but what really makes this feud work too is that Jimmy and Jey are really good on the mic, like very underrated on the mic. Like I found myself like going back and watching their promos just to watch their promos because I kind of just missed them a little bit on the mic. They're hilarious, and like you talked about before, there's a realism to it. And their stuff has especially their recent stuff with the day one ish stuff has just had a sense of realism that I think we haven't seen in a while, and I don't even think we knew they had it in them. So
yeah, I mean, like, well, the one thing, like the case to go to your point too, whatever though, when they started to, it seemed like every other week they were winning the tag titles. And I get it. They're kind of like the New Day. They're reliable. They can give the tag titles a little bit of prestige as but unfortunately when you do that many times, then it's just like, okay, they're just being a placeholder for a couple weeks until like, okay, Miz and Morrison, you're going to hold on to the titles now, or whatever, which that's another sin is they have completely bastardized the tag team division on both brands. But and DJ, to what you said, that's the one thing about their act that I love so much is that they seem authentic. That's not coming from. It doesn't seem like it's coming from a different voice, and they're just reciting lines. It's just them naturally, and just the swag to them. Again, when they lost the face paint and stopped doing the hakas beforehand, which I didn't mind, whatever though, but this seems like them, and it seems like it's actually these guys and not just a gimmick. And as when Casey was talking, I was chuckling because I saw on one of the Facebook comments and someone said, "I did it for The Rock." But the one thing, and again, this will be my last point, and then I got to get going. But the one thing I want Roman to start doing, because now he has implemented this new attitude. He's a vicious, cold killer, with this new aggressiveness. I want him to, if he is to, Paul can give the sizzle a little bit, whatever though, but let Roman work with it a little bit, shoot with it a little bit, and say, I announced to the world that, my leukemia came back with a vengeance. And everybody kind of gave me the half-hearted pat on the back. There was one guy There was one guy that kept in contact with me when I was going through treatment and this, that, and the other, and that was Paul Heyman. And I still thought I didn't need to go that route. I didn't need to go that route before I came back. I figured that I would get the love from you guys of coming back, stronger than ever, fighting through leukemia, whatever, though. And you all booed me. You all booed me. And it's like, what does that say to you as human beings? So that's why I said, the hell with it. You've all have been pushing, again, everybody, is a smark these days, whatever, though. Now everybody's been pushing for me to be a heel. Well, here I am. And if you don't like it, you can go to hell. I'm the universal champ. And it's going to stay with me for a long time until I allow someone to take it from me.
Yeah, and I think they should use that stuff to their advantage. Like for the longest time, they could rely on kayfabe to make things real, to make things feel real. They relied on it for so long on social media, out in the public, in the airport, stuff like that. They relied on kayfabe. Now I think they need to rely on the fact that people act like they know everything. People think that they know everything. You want to say what a face is, what a heel is, use it against them. And I think that would be really enjoyable. And I think, wrestling companies need to benefit off of that, because I think that is the new kayfabe. I think that is the new, that is the new realism of wrestling. I think
look what it did. Look what it did for AJ and Taker. As he put it, whatever, though, he goes, Alan Jones. I mean, since we're shooting here, that catapulted people into caring about the Boneyard match. But again, all you have to do again is like, you don't have to beat us over the head with it, but just the slightest smidgen of realism, and those guys as professionals can bring it over the top to bring that rivalry into the ring.
Right. Real quick, just to touch on some other things that I enjoyed for the show, because I know we're about to wrap up. But what I'm loving, I'm loving the Hurt Business first off, and I know Casey is not a fan of the Hurt Business, but I'm loving the Hurt Business because look at this, Casey. Just think about it, Casey. What was Ricochet doing before the Hurt Business? Nothing. He was in catering. What was freaking Cedric Alexander doing? Nothing. He was in catering with him. What was Apollo doing? He was Apollo Lose back then. I mean, at least he didn't win a title since then. What was Bobby doing? Getting married to Lana. I mean, lucky man. Don't get me wrong. Lucky man, but come on, man. Come on. That was a joke. What was Shelton doing? He was sleeping on SmackDown. I mean, come on, Casey. MVP just comes out here and elevates people, bro. MVP, and he's the spotlight of the group, but like, he just elevates everybody, and Casey just don't like to hear that.
MVP is so good. He's been a gift to that show,
and he's excellent on the mic. He's excellent at promoting other people. Like, and I don't know, it's weird because MVP is MVP, right? You wouldn't expect him to be like as selfless as he is, but he's very selfless in his approach at being a professional. He is very selfless in the way he does things, and Brandon chiming in there. I agree. I've loved the Hurt Business. I think SmackDown is absolutely outclassing Raw every single week. But the Hurt Business I have enjoyed. I do want to do a discussion at some point in the near future. They weren't on this show, so I don't want to discuss it too much here, but I want to do a discussion on Retribution, because everybody is absolutely crapping on Retribution. I don't think it's that bad, but that's just me. What else was there? I didn't realize Asuka and Bayley had a match. That surprised me. I knew that Asuka had a match earlier.
It was. I don't want to say it was necessarily meaningless, but it was just Asuka fought Selena earlier in the night, and then Bayley was like, "Oh, Nikki Cross can't compete, so referee, come in here and declare me the winner." And Asuka came out, and they had a so match, and then Bayley got herself disqualified, and that was the other thing.
Bayley, Sasha, like I know they're trying to make us wait, but come on.
It was a premature return by Sasha because she still had on the neck brace, and Bayley got the better of her for a few. It didn't make any sense. Back in the day, Jim Cornette, they put him with this tag team called the Headhunters, and they're like, "Oh my God, who's this new tag team?" And they get in the ring, and Davey Boy and Owen Hart slammed these guys as soon as they stepped in the ring. It was kind of like that. Like Sasha got in a few shots, and then bam, Bayley comes back with a chair and gets the best of her for a few.
And again, I didn't get to watch the entire show. I do want to go back and watch it for a couple of the matches.
Watch the things on the YouTube channel too, Casey, because
Yeah.
I've really been able to catch up on some feuds that way.
Did I see Shawn Michaels super kick Drew McIntyre?
And it was awesome.
Off an ambulance? I was like, what?
Yeah, I was just about to. I think he super kicked Randy, right? Because they were all.
Yeah, no, Randy. Yeah,
they were all coming back after Randy because
ambulance
Randy
match.
took him out. Yeah, and that's what I was just about to talk about to kind of wrap up. That was cool to see all of them kind of come together to go against Randy, because we haven't really seen, because Randy's just been taking out everybody, like literally everybody, all of them in the feud. So that kind of was cool to have that come full circle. I'm still wondering what they're gonna do with Randy, because I feel like eventually he's gonna win the title so they can set up that Edge thing if Edge is ready for Mania. I think they're gonna set that up, but I think they're like sneakily want to put Keith Lee into all this too. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. And lastly, and kind of a point that I don't even feel like making, but Andrade and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits. Why again? Why? But other than that, that's it for me. Anybody else got anything else? Cause
don't put Keith Lee in the divorcee tennis skirt ever again.
Yeah, that is that's a point right there. But that's an excellent point to wrap up on. Appreciate Adam and Casey for coming by. DJ signing off for the Instant Classic Wrestling podcast right here on all our different platforms. If you're on Facebook and you want to listen to us, you can find us on Anchor, of course, and you can just Google us. We're Googleable. You can just Google us and find us wherever you would like to find us. And if you are not on Facebook, you can like the Facebook page, like the YouTube channel as well. I try to post it on YouTube too. But other than that, we'll see you guys on the next one. We got some other discussions coming up. I definitely, want to discuss that thing about Retribution, probably later this week or maybe early next week, possibly. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, an instant classic.